Most people believe a stroke arrives without warning. One moment you're fine, the next moment you're on the floor. That's how it looks from the outside. But inside the body, the story often starts hours, sometimes an entire day earlier, with signals so quiet that almost everyone talks themselves out of them. A study out of Oxford University, published in the journal Neurology, followed more than 2,000 stroke patients and found that 23% of them had a warning episode beforehand, and for many, that warning came the day before the stroke itself. Today we're covering the 5 signs your body may send out before a major stroke hits. All studies are linked in the description below. One warning before we start. Nothing on this list should be treated as a small thing. If you notice any of these, get emergency help right away, even when it fades on its own within a few minutes. Just because a symptom clears up does not mean the danger has passed. It might be the only heads up you're going to receive. Write down the exact time it started. Doctors have roughly 4.5 hours from the first symptom to give the strongest stroke treatment, and that window starts ticking the second the symptom shows up, not when you walk into the emergency room. Sign number 5, sudden dizziness, loss of balance, or walking like the ground has shifted under you. Your balance center is tucked into the lower rear portion of the skull, and it runs on its own private blood supply that travels up through the neck. When that supply hiccups for even a moment, your body loses its sense of which way is level, much like a ship that lists to one side when a single engine sputters out for a few seconds. The American Stroke Association names balance and coordination problems as one of the 6 red flags in their F.A.S.T checklist, the kind that should send you straight to the phone to dial 911. Frank, a retired mailman, was crossing his kitchen when the room seemed to tilt sideways. He grabbed the counter, stood still for a moment, and the spinning passed. He blamed it on standing up too fast, and went back to his coffee. The tell that separates this from an inner ear problem is simple. Inner ear dizziness usually needs a trigger: rolling over, tipping your head back. This kind of dizziness arrives while you're simply standing still. Sign number 4 is something almost everyone brushes off as clumsiness. Sign number 4, sudden weakness, numbness, or a heavy, clumsy feeling in one arm, hand, or leg. The nerve pathways that carry strength and sensation from a limb travel in a single tight bundle on their way through the brain. When blood flow to that bundle drops even briefly, the signal going out to that limb gets scrambled, like a phone line with static cutting in and out. According to the American Stroke Association, arm weakness, one arm drifting downward or feeling numb, is one of the primary warning signs of stroke and TIA. Diane, 74, was pouring coffee when the mug suddenly felt like it belonged to somebody else's hand, and it slipped before she could catch it. Within a couple of minutes, her grip felt normal again, so she wiped up the mess and moved on with her morning. A simple test: hold both arms straight out, palms up, close your eyes, and count to 10. If one arm sinks, that's a positive sign. Even if it resolves in minutes, that combination calls for emergency evaluation, not a wait-and-see approach. Sign number 3, sudden vision loss or blurring in one eye. The artery feeding the eye branches directly off the same vessel that feeds the brain, so a tiny fragment of clot can plug that eye artery exactly the way a leaf can jam a garden hose nozzle for a few seconds before working loose. Doctors call this Amaurosis Fugax, and research shows that between 5 and 10% of people who experience it go on to have a stroke within the following year. Walter, 71, was driving home from the hardware store when it looked like someone had pulled a gray shade halfway down over his right eye. He pulled over, blinked hard, and by the time he'd caught his breath, his sight was back to normal. He chalked it up to his eyes acting up and drove the rest of the way home. A quick self-check: cover one eye, then the other. If the blackout only showed up with one specific eye covered, the event happened in that eye, and same-day emergency evaluation is the right response, even after vision fully returns. Sign number 2 is one most people mistake for simply tripping over their words. Sign number 2, sudden trouble finding words, or speech that comes out slurred or scrambled. There are 2 separate language workshops inside the brain, one that shapes the words your mouth needs to produce, another that assembles those words into something that actually makes sense. Let blood flow to either workshop drop for even a minute, and speech can come out broken, slurred, or scrambled, not unlike a radio station fading into static as the signal weakens. The CDC puts it plainly: struggling to speak or to understand what others are saying is a reason to dial emergency services without hesitation. Carol, 66, was ordering lunch at her favorite diner when the words she meant to say came out jumbled, like her tongue had stopped cooperating with her brain. The waitress gave her a strange look. Carol laughed it off as a tongue-twister moment, and a minute later, she was speaking normally again. This sign matters even when it lasts only a few minutes and clears up completely on its own. And now, sign number 1, the one almost nobody recognizes as a stroke warning at all. Number 1. Sudden emotional changes that come out of nowhere. Crying with no clear reason, laughing at something that isn't funny, a wave of sadness or anxiety that doesn't match anything happening around you. Ruth, 70, was sitting at the dinner table with her family, mid-conversation, when tears started running down her face without warning. No bad news, no memory, nothing anyone had said. Her daughter asked what was wrong. Ruth couldn't explain it. And within a few minutes, the tears stopped and she felt completely normal again. Everyone assumed she was just having a sentimental moment. The brain has a built-in dimmer switch for emotional expression, sitting in the front part of the brain and its connections to deeper emotional centers. That dimmer switch normally keeps a small sad thought from turning into full tears, or a mild amusement from turning into a laughing fit. When blood flow to that circuit briefly drops out, the dimmer switch goes dark, and whatever emotion happens to be passing through comes out at full, unfiltered volume. The way a dinner conversation suddenly blares through speakers when someone bumps the volume knob all the way up. Cleveland Clinic specifically lists emotional instability and personality changes among documented TIA and stroke symptoms. Ask yourself one question in the moment: has this person ever broken down or burst out laughing this fast, this hard, over nothing you can point to? If your honest answer is no, name it correctly. This is blood flow to the brain misbehaving, dressed up as an emotional moment. Sudden, out-of-character emotional behavior in anyone over 60 with any vascular risk factor is neurological until proven otherwise. And because this sign sits completely outside the classic F.A.S.T checklist that most people have memorized, it's the one most likely to be waved away as nothing, right up until the moment it wasn't. Half of the strokes that come after one of these episodes hit within the following 2 days, and getting treated inside the first 24 hours after a warning can lower the odds of a full-blown stroke by as much as 80%. Getting that care starts with naming the warning correctly: the dizziness, the numb hand, the eye that went dark, the words that came out wrong, the tears with no explanation, and picking up the phone the first time it happens, not waiting to see if it happens twice.